Welcome! This is Fatherhood in Focus, a podcast designed to help you succeed in your role as a father and maximise your impact. You and I both know we often fight on alone, and this can lead us to lose sight of the things that really matter. I learned the hard way and almost lost it all. I'm standing here today and talking to you because I made a decision to fight back. We are pillars of strength, persistence, resilience and courage, and have a critical role in the development of our children. But often we sacrifice everything for those we love, but often find ourselves isolated and with nowhere to turn. I'm Aidan, a father of two and the founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club, and your host for today's episode. Before we crack on, here's something for you to consider. Everything in today's episode and future episodes is about you. Each episode is designed to talk honestly about the challenges of fatherhood. Today, the world is filled with bullies and influencers using their platform to abuse the position of power that they hold. Their hollow words, empty rhetoric and storyline is designed to get you hooked and bought in. Everyone has a story to tell and a narrative to sell. But today I want to set something straight. This podcast will be different. Whilst this is my space to talk to you, the objective is to grow the conversation about the challenges many of us face. Today I'll make this promise. I'll never mislead or abuse your trust. In a world where short, sharp sentences are designed to get you to commit, this platform will focus on the story, impact, truth, empathy, and focus on the advancement of the fatherhood figure. There'll be no bullshit, no undercutting the value. This is an educational platform designed to create a voice, designed to value and celebrate the contribution that you make to you and your family, and especially your kids. That's it. Thanks for listening, and I respect the importance of the role that you play in every aspect of family life. In this episode, I want to talk to you about the amazing work of Mark Williams, a trailblazer in the fatherhood space. I wrote this episode way back in June 23, and I'll be honest, I think the original iteration was even before that. So in this episode, we're going to take a bit of a journey. It's not a book review, more of a thank you to Mark for his contribution and ongoing work in the fatherhood space. I talk openly and honestly about my own struggle with mental health following the birth of our son Max. But I owe lots of this man, his bravery, honesty and bloody courage to share his story. I'm going to use this time to reflect on his story and hopefully do it some justice. His story struck a chord with me from the off, and honestly, I couldn't put it down. I loved the rawness and uniqueness of it. But what I loved most was that it felt like he was sharing his story over a pint in the pub. I had the pleasure of meeting Mark in November 2022, and I also have the pleasure of hopefully over the next 12 months working more closely with him. I was a little starstruck, if I'm honest. It's odd meeting someone you think you know in the flesh for the first time, but in the few short moments I had in that first interaction, I'm pleased to announce he's a bloody legend. Given the uniqueness of his work, I would have expected nothing less. But before I kick off, I want to take a moment to consider the obstacles that present themselves daily. Is there something on top of you that you're ignoring or pushing to the side? Stopping you from performing at your best? And what's stopping you from seeking support should you need it? If there was support available, would you take up the help, or would you shy away from seeking out someone to talk to for the fear of looking weak? We all experience it differently, and we all choose to deal with the challenges in our own world in our own way. And often our chosen path, whilst not immediately obvious, can impact everyone who matters in our lives. Mark's story, Daddy Blues, brings the struggle of a father to life. It's really a simple story that lays bare the realities of the early days of fatherhood and the delicate balance that can be thrown into chaos in the aftermath of what should be the best day of a new parent's life. The work done in the fatherhood space is just beginning. We're 12 plus years in and still we're yet to truly scratch the surface. Still, we're fighting for more support. We raise awareness of so many other challenges facing us, but are we any closer to finding a solution to a global issue? One of the greatest challenges to the advancement of the fatherhood agenda is you and I. We prefer to struggle on. For some, it's a badge of honour, one that proves we can handle everything that fatherhood throws at us. For others, they're hidden away on online forums, trying to get the support they desperately need, but failing to because of differing opinions on what today's masculinity truly is. My message is clear. If you're finding it hard, or your partner has experienced postnatal depression, find this book, read it, and absorb the simple rawness of it. Mark tells the story beautifully. It's raw, and he willingly shares the details of his struggle. There is no bullshit, and that's what drew me to his story. He communicates at a level that translates to any new dad, and frankly, it should be made available to every new parent. Not only does he touch on the complex emotional freefall that both mothers and fathers experience, but he openly talks about the behaviours that are symptomatic of postnatal depression. So, postnatal depression in fathers. Hold on a minute, we don't get that. That's a mum thing, right? That's where you and I are wrong. And that's exactly what I thought in 2020. Mark tells a story of a father desperate to protect his family. A father willing to sacrifice his own health and self-worth to ensure his partner and young son are put first. There is an unfiltered desperation and shame that leaps off the page as he wrestles with the guilt attached to wanting to escape, hide away and seemingly destroy everything and his beautiful partner had built before baby arrived. In my experience, that deep-rooted shame destroys your confidence, happiness, and hampers your decision making. And Mark's story paints a vivid picture. The inner turmoil clouds your thinking. It leads you to question your value and question whether your young family are better off without you. Imagine the world you love is thrown into chaos. Outwardly, you seem fine. You continue to function. But as the darkness descends, your every thought is seemingly designed to destroy any self-belief you had. I liken the feeling to walking through the billowing smoke spewed from an industrial tower. It's blackness blinding, and the ashen cloud restricts you to short, sharp breaths. You're desperately clawing your way through the shadows, but every step is heavy and unnatural. Your thoughts are internalized as you search for answers and play over scenarios that see you finally put an end to your misery. Even with the world at your feet and a beautiful family to motivate you, the solution seems to point to the darkest action. For me, that's what dealing with a mental health challenge is like. Dark thoughts ready to consume you at every turn. If you fail to get them under control, then they will destroy you. Mark's desire to get back on track is what resonated most. Through his struggle, he discovered purpose. On his journey, he stumbled across his calling and connected with the very fabric of what felt like his identity. We all adapt differently, but what's apparent is that training beyond learning to change baby or feed baby isn't available. We're taught all the skills to keep baby alive, and rightly so, but we're not educated in the how behind taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically. In Mark's story, it wasn't an overnight fix, and that's the overarching message. Getting back on track is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It will consume you, but I guarantee you that it will be the most rewarding step you'll ever take. It is the most impactful thing you can do for your family. Mark's willingness to try new strategies demonstrated his commitment to his new family. If one thing didn't work, he tried something new and repeated it over and over until he discovered a series of actions that started to make a difference. The difference between Mark and others is that he took it a step further. Many accept their struggle whilst not understanding it. Deep down, they know there's something amiss. Mark's story points to the most important step, the one that you, if you are struggling, the one that you need to address, and it's admission. It's the biggest step in your recovery. Like a lot of men faced with a difficult decision regarding their own health, Mark had already accepted that he needed the help. His loneliness led to a feeling of helplessness, and so the cycle began. He knew he needed help, and on more than one occasion was on the verge of finding some semblance of freedom in the support of others. But the shame held him back. His shame fed his fear of the unknown, of the judgment of his position as a man, husband and father. His fear of failure kept him from admitting that he needed help. It's clear from my own experience and my experiences of managing men in my jobs that it's only when the shame gets too much that you're left with two choices: to live or to die. The decision is dictated by what you have left to fight for. For Mark, he had his beautiful family, his son Ethan and his wife Michelle. For some, the destruction caused by their failure to admit they needed help may have left them with little to fight for. Their relationships, career and bond with their children may already be in tatters, and it leaves them with little option but to close the door and leave it all behind. If you're weighed down by thousands of thoughts corrupting your internal dialogue, and if your decision making remains left unchecked, then fueled by a reliance on an unhealthy set of behaviours, you will push everyone you love away. Whilst you might not be considering an exit, or perhaps you're not fully committed to the notion that an exit is your only option, you're getting closer to the edge. The closer you get, the bigger the wedge you drive between you and them. In Mark's story, he candidly opened up about his relationship with alcohol and his use of it to treat the gaping wounds left after the birth of his son. He openly admits to suppressing his emotion and the impact it had on him, his family, and his career. Something shifts the moment you become a father. Against the unrelenting pressure of modern society, you can, like Mark, return to habits designed to help you blow off steam. And against the backdrop of your own expectations, you can overindulge. Your willingness to sacrifice everything to protect and provide the stability within your family leads you to taking shortcuts. Your health, including your exercise, eating, alcohol consumption, vitamin D intake, all become a chore. And as the excuses mount, what may have been a must becomes a should. And with no perceived consequence or accountability, you ignore the signs and your world begins to spiral. Mark's story points to a need to embrace the transformation before baby arrives. Just as your partner starts on her journey, you have to begin too. Yes, it's a little uncomfortable at first. Your mates and family might say you're being too sensitive and taking too many precautions. But remember, you and your partner start this incredible journey together. So why should she be any more mentally ready for the change than you are? Yes, it's natural for the mother to begin to prepare for baby's arrival, but you too have to start thinking about how the world around you will change. It will be the seismic upheaval that catches you out. And Mark's story clearly points to a need to change the way we prepare. You might think, it won't happen to me. And that's exactly how I thought. I did little to prepare for fatherhood, the basics covered. What I failed to recognise was how the shift in my reality would impact the way I saw the world and how I'd adapt to fatherhood. In reality, what's available? We're not talking about the practicalities of parenting. The basics are covered. Whether you turn up to the antenatal classes is another story. Fatherhood overhauls your life. Your emotional responses are heightened, and in the early days, the sensory overload can knock you off track. You might in the early stages choose to ignore the change, but when the pressure hits you head on, where are you going to turn? Like Mark, I tried many strategies in my fight back from the brink. I stumbled on a formula that worked for me, and it started simply with a series of reflection techniques. I'm not asking you to overhaul your lifestyle. That's on you. If you're comfortable in your skin as a father, I acknowledge your strength to see your role clearly. For some, it's more difficult to adjust. I want to remind you that it's possible, and it starts with pausing to reflect on just how far you've come. We tend not to celebrate our role and instead choose to push on and push our progress to one side. That oversight might just be costing us and stopping us seeing fatherhood for what it really is, an incredible challenge that shapes the man you become. As a father to two boys, I can honestly say that the last 6.5 years have flown by. And before my own crash in 2020, I wasn't performing at the level I expected. By choosing to build confidence in my role, I understand the impact and influence I have, and I work to improve on it every day. If you're looking for support or want to learn more about the strategies I use to help me stay on track, then subscribe to the podcast. If you want to know more about the work I'm doing to support fathers who are looking to get back on track, check out my special offer on the New Dad Recharge course. If you want to engage more, reach out and subscribe. And if you're going through something and you're not quite ready to start a dialogue, read Daddy Blues. If nothing else, it will point you to the amazing work of people like Mark and the importance of managing your own health after baby arrives. Resources in today's episode are designed to hit home and raise the profile of the importance of a father's struggle. Fatherhood in Focus will continue to bring these messages to the forefront of our minds and focus on the reality of modern fatherhood. Like anything, you have to work hard at it. Perseverance, resilience, effort, and a willingness to give it everything is just part of your story. Your struggle, emotions are things that you are conditioned to keep to yourself. Someone asked me why I haven't stopped working on this project and what keeps me going. The answer is simple. Look at your kids. Every motivation to stay on track, to fight back, is right there. No matter how hard it is and how much pain you carry, they need you. They don't need you to step up. That's on you. They need you to be present, free from conflict, accessible. My biggest fear is that I'll fail my boys. My resources, courses, videos, and everything I write or record is designed to help dads who, like me, may have lost their way. I know you because I know me. The only difference is that I'm one step further ahead. My fear of failure pushes me on, but in reality, that biggest fear is really simple. If my sons become the man I once was, then I haven't given them what they need. Love your journey. Focus on the impact that you have and give them everything you have, but not at the expense of your health, confidence, passion, and love for life. This has been Fatherhood in Focus. Thank you for listening.